back to Sheroic, an interview series where we get to have candid conversations with extraordinary Shero entrepreneurs on their journey to create a life and business they love waking up to. I'm Kenya Halliburton, and I'm here with the beautiful Cordelia Gaffar, and we have a really great topic that we're going to be talking about today, and I'm really excited to talk to Cordelia about her journey. So I'm going to do a quick introduction, and then we're going to jump right into the good content that we have to share today. So Cordelia is a holistic life coach, radio host of Replenish Me podcast, certified speaker, founder of the Workout Around My Day program, and she's amazing. So listen, really quick, and the wonderful thing, and I was talking to Cordelia about this before we popped on, the wonderful thing about the web is that you get to meet amazing people all over the globe. And Cordelia and I met via Facebook Messenger not too long ago, like a week ago or something like that. And I just fell in love with her platform. You know, I get to kind of crush on all my Shero entrepreneurs, and Cordelia is definitely one of my new Sheroic crushes. Before I introduce you and we kind of get into it, Cordelia, the reason why this topic fascinated me so is because this has been a really important part of my own personal journey. Your platform of self-nurturing, self-care, and I know that it's important for a lot of women, period, women entrepreneurs, mommypreneurs, and there's these couple of terms, mommy martyrdom, self-sacrificing. Those words kind of jump into my head when I looked at your platform and I think about some of the things that I've been trying to implement in my own life and business. And these terms to me are mindsets that often leave us depressed and stressed and burned out and drained, because we're trying to do everything for everyone, and it creates this kind of serving while sacrificing ourselves, and it doesn't lead to good things, right? And so I want to talk to you about your solution that you found. And before we do that, you are the mommy of 6 beautiful children. So of course that fascinates me. So welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me for this amazing conversation, Cordelia.
Thank you, Kenya. I'm so honored to be here. I actually couldn't believe when you invited me on your show. I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. I love the title, Sheroic. Wow.
Yeah.
I never think of myself that way, but I love that. So thank you so much for having me.
We all are in our own unique way. So let's kind of jump into it. How did you start this journey? Where did your journey begin? What was the catalyst of the work that you do around helping women self-nurturing, self-care?
like was able to fit into my clothes before he turned 1, and he did walk before 1. He was like 10 months. Yeah. And yeah.
That's incredible. There's so much there. So one of the things that jumped out at me was your commitment to the process of healing yourself. It was almost like medicine, no, I got this. And the focus that it takes to say, no, I'm going to cure myself. I'm going to fix this. And then to go full force into activity, that intense, that's incredible. That's incredible. So what was your mindset around that? Like, what was happening that empowered you to like stick with it?
I wanted to feel again, and I wanted to love again. I wanted to be connected to my body. I didn't recognize myself, and I didn't like the way that felt. I wanted to, my oldest is a girl, right? So I was worried about me having this body image issue. And if this doesn't go away, then I'm going to be a bad role model for her. Right. So that's what was going through my head. I was like, oh no, not that I had to be super mom. It's just like, I had so many things growing up as a young woman that I didn't want I didn't want to be that role model for my daughter, you know?
That's good. So you go through this, you go through this transformation as a result of your depression. When did you realize that this was something that you wanted or needed to do and to share with other women?
Oh, I avoided it for years. I'm gonna tell you what, because like when I guess 2 things. I finally went back to work, and then the people that I knew casually, they were like, oh man, what did you do? You look amazing, and you're so happy, and I would say, oh, I just did this, and this, and they're like, oh my God, that's a lot. Can you put that in a book? I'm like, oh, I don't have time to write a book. So by the time I had my 5th child, I decided to keep a blog. And then they said, why don't, your articles are so good. Why don't you write a book? I'm like, oh, I don't have time to write a book. And then one day I saw that Blogger. Do you remember Blogger? You can make your blog into a book. And then I thought, well, one of these years I'll do that. So it was really like 3 years ago when it finally occurred to me, after like the 15th time that someone told me that you need to write a book and you could really help a lot of people with this, that I decided to do it.
It's amazing. Our pain always gives birth to our purpose, and we always initially run from it. And, that's why the title of the show is Sheroic. It makes me think about superheroes, and every superhero always has that moment where they're like, oh, I have a superpower. And, oh, I don't want to save the world. I don't want to do that. I just want to be little old me doing what I love. And then it's like, no, you have to save these people over here in this burning building, Right. So I think it's always incredible how that happens, that process. That's beautiful. So what obstacles have you faced? So you set up this, and we'll talk about your program and everything, but in this journey of you kind of turning this event and this transformation in your life into a business, what has been some of the obstacles you faced, maybe personally and professionally, in stepping into this place?
So on a personal level, I have like I've run from, I guess, stepping into it and what that meant. So you have a book, you're supposed to do book signings. And I was like, I'm not going to do a book signing. I'll just do some workshops, at the local mosque or at my friend's mosque, keep it small. And, then you get asked to, oh, can you come to my conference? Now this happened in my first year. So one of the workshops I did, a professor, she asked me, we have this conference and about leadership, and, can you talk about how fitness helps leadership in the workplace? And I was like, I don't do that,
Yeah.
So those kind of things have come up. And then I finally released that and decided like a year and a half ago, okay, I'm gonna like properly find out how to be a speaker and all that. And then I guess other obstacles that have come up is, you know, I had tried when I first retired from being like a corporate accountant, I had tried to have like a bookkeeping company, and then I gave that up. And so now my husband's like, how long are you going to stick with this? You know what I mean? So, you know, so there's that. But I would say most of it is just, I don't like that term imposter syndrome, but sometimes even like Monday of this week, you know, it comes up like, I'm all about self-nurturing and look at me today, you know, I didn't do, you know, whatever my normal routine is. But then I remembered that, you know, my self-nurturing, you know, it's kind of fluid. It depends on what I need for each day. So like, I guess the other obstacle is it's all like, I'm not really living who I am supposed to, you know, what am I saying? I'm not being that role model, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah, it's kind of like that. That practice what you preach thing.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because I feel like all of us struggle with that to some degree. It just never goes away. Even as heroic as we are, we still have those really human moments where, you know, and I think a lot of it is it's a journey.
It is.
And, you know, for the people that we're serving, I mean, sometimes those stumbles, even within, you know, figuring it out and then stumbling again, is all an opportunity to still take that and say, hey, you know, yeah, I know this and I've gotten myself to this point, but hey, this is another landmine to look out for because it happened to me. You know, like the humanity in the process, I think is amazing, and how you just journey through it. So self-nurturing, the concept of self-nurturing and self-care can be a bit of a landmine for women. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm being selfish. You know, I don't have time to do this for myself. So was it easy for you or instant for you? Because it sounds like it kind of was, but was it easy and instant for you to shift from, and I know your trigger for shifting into this was depression. So was it easy or instant for you to kind of shift into the mindset of, oh, I have to do these things for myself? Was it the incident itself? Did you have like old mindsets, kind of like that, I'm being selfish and all of those kinds of things? Did any of those kinds of things impact you in this process of like embracing the whole self-nurturing, self-care process?
So interestingly enough, you know, for me, I've never really thought of myself being selfish because I always had, let's just clarify the piece about the exercise. Mm-hmm. I don't go to the gym. All this was happening in my house.
Right.
Right. So like with every baby I had, they were right next to me when I'm exercising, right? They're right next to me when I'm cooking, you know? So I felt like it was, I guess on a different level, it was kind of like my duty to my kids to be this way. So I never thought of it as being selfish. Now,
wow.
After I had my sixth child, when I start going for massages regularly, because, you know, after you have so many children, things do get out of alignment. So I was going to the chiropractor, I was going to massage therapist, and then I'm always searching new modalities, you know, for different types of exercises. But what you can't do yourself, you have to, you know, have someone else manipulate your body. So I went through a period where I was like, oh my God, I'm like at the, you know, I'm like always out of the house going to get a massage or something. And so I had issue with that for a minute. But even then, I felt so much better in my body that I never really thought of it as being selfish. I was like, well, now you know, because like you said, it's a journey, right? So back then it was just like just food and exercise, right? And it was fun to do with the kids. Then it became food, exercise, and massages. And then it became, you know, it's like there are layers being added. And as I'm supporting a community, there's new forms of self-care. Like now I go for regular facials and, you know, wraps and stuff like that, you know. So as I'm adding more stuff, I'm more time away from different things. So I go through periods where I'm like, I'm being selfish. I'm like, nope, I am being a role model. I've got to do
Absolutely.
this. Yeah.
That's a beautiful perspective that you said, this is a duty to my children. Like, I think that is such a powerful revelation and perspective to have, from moving from like, you know, oh, I don't have time to do this for myself because I have to do X, Y, and Z for other people. Or, you know, you are in some sort of depression and you can't get yourself out, to serving myself is serving the people around me. And I think that's such a powerful shift.
I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but one more thing I wanted to just include was that my children deserve to have a mom who's compassionate and connected, right? You don't want, I mean, if you grow up, that's like child abuse, I feel like. If you're neglecting yourself and you're always, like I call it monster mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be that mom, you know? So, I mean, now I've got an 18-year-old that, you know, sometimes I'm not going to say that. That's going to embarrass her. We hug. And we have very open, candid conversations about anything. My son, my 16-year-old, right, who I had that, well, he'll be 16. We are really super duper connected. He's like the second chef in the house. In fact, sometimes he stands over me and corrects what I'm doing. Wow. You know, my 4-year-old, who knew? She just made her first gourmet sauce the other day. You know? So it's just like, you know, if I wasn't the person that I am, if I wasn't paying attention to nourishing with wholesome food and energizing my body with movement and reframing my perspective when I'm starting to go down the rabbit's hole. I mean, I have my kids sometimes hold my hand and say, Mom, look into my eyes. We're going to take 3 deep breaths, okay? Okay? My kids do that to me. So
the students become the teachers. That's so amazing. You're creating a legacy of self-care. I think sometimes we think about creating a legacy of wealth and money and things like that, but being whole, healthy people facilitates all of that. And your children are watching you and getting that at an early age. So I think that's incredible. So you talked about how you work out, how you take care of your body and not going to the gym, and figuring out a way to like bake it into your life, which I love. And I guess that's kind of how the concept of workout around your day came. So tell us a little bit about your program and what it's about. And I kind of figure out how it came about, but just tell us a little bit about that program.
Yeah. So I guess I was about to drift off and tell you like how I started doing it myself. So I found that, you know, like mom's sanctuary is the bathroom. So I found that if I just stayed an extra 5 minutes there, I have my weights in there, I would do a little workout. And so every time I went to the bathroom, I'd take an extra 5 minutes to exercise, right? And then I'd come out and have more energy, you know? And then as far as, so like what I teach my clients though is, you know, journal, look at what your habits are, right? And see where there are pockets of time that you could use differently, right? Look at what you're eating. And there's a section in my book that actually has these worksheets. Look at what you're eating and take, you know, you can mark off, are you satisfied? Are you still hungry? Or, you know, this makes, you know, make a note of what's going on with those particular foods that you're eating at different times of the day. And as far as mindset, that piece is more about watching your boundaries. And I don't like to use the word trigger because I didn't even realize my teenagers are like, I'm not triggered. I was like, what, is that a word? So I don't use that word. But, you know, what are the things that send you, right? So, you know, like that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. You know, are there certain like people that just make you vibe wrong? Are there certain things that you have to self-medicate yourself, you know? So, you know, and self-medication can be a lot of different things. And it's just more about a mindfulness thing in everything you do, you know?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking as you were talking.
Big, huge program. So that's the big, huge program, you know?
I think it's amazing to teach us how to use the time that we have, because sometimes we think that we have to do this, have this grand plan, and you know, get all the gear and go to the gym, and then when we don't go or we fall off, we feel, you know, guilty, and then, you know, we spiral, and it's a whole cycle. But just using the time that you have, getting your family involved as well, and you know, making it a family affair, I think is just it's one of those like duh moments, like duh, like why didn't I think about that?
And it's funny because, you know, it's like when I guess this would go back to your question about challenges, but it's still related to this. So like when I first started doing coaching, people were like, why would I hire you to help me? Because this is like common sense stuff. I'm like, and if it were common sense stuff, then you'd be doing it and you wouldn't help, you know?
Yes.
So, I mean, like I tell everybody I work with, yeah, you already know this stuff. The problem is implementing this stuff. And I poll the people in my group, like, I guess a couple of times a year. So I just recently did a poll and they were like, I have a problem, you know, implementing and staying motivated with it. And so we're going to do a 10-day, I call it epic summer adventure, right? And they're just going to pick one thing per day that they're going to stick with. And then the next day and build on it for over 10 days. And so we're starting that on July 1st. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm going to have to check that out for myself. So for the woman or the mommy who is like you were, battling depression, in a dark place, feeling alone, taking the weight of the world on their shoulder and drowning in a sea of obligations to other people, what advice would you have for her? What's one thing that she could do today to begin the process of nurturing herself happy and whole?
So the first thing I would say is remember how abundant you are. What is it that you're full of, right? So like just switch it from I don't have, right? Or I lack this to I am full of. Whatever you're telling yourself that, you know, I'm so upset because for me it was like I can't connect with my kid. I am bereft of love, right? So just tell yourself, I am full of love. I am love, like just exploding and radiating all over the planet. Like when people need love, they come and get deposits from me. You know? So it's, yeah.
So think abundantly. Yeah.
Let's try it.
Let's try it. That's amazing. Get started. That's always the thing, right? Action.
Yeah.
I love it. So how can people learn more? How can we connect with you? How can we be a part of your self-nurturing movement?
There are 2 ways, right? So I mentioned that I have a Facebook group and it's called Chaos to Calm, the number 4 Supermoms.
Love it.
Right. So you can join my group. And if you are a person who needs to be in a community of like-minded women who are on a journey and they just want some loving support. Every day I have a theme. Today is Think Tank Thursday, being aware of your mental health. That's the place to be. Now, if you're like, I don't know about group settings, I don't really like to share, I'm not a Facebook person, you can just go to my website, which is my name, CordeliaGaffar.com, and then there's a way where you can connect with me directly.
Amazing. And yeah, definitely do one of those two things and dig into the resources on Cordelia's site. I'm going to be in the Facebook group. I could always use a little bit of help in that area. So thank you so much for being Sheroic and answering the call to not only serve yourself and your family, but sharing it with the rest of us to help us get ourselves together and love ourselves better. And thank you for taking this time with us today.
Yes, and thank you so much for asking. I really enjoyed it. And I hope that I've served your listeners. Yeah.
You've been amazing. So if you have enjoyed it, feel free. This is a pre-recorded interview, but you can always interact and engage, leave comments wherever you're watching this for Cordelia, for myself, and we'll respond. So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.